The Church of the Nativity is the oldest continuously operating church in the world and has been active for almost 1,700 years. The church is built over a cave, which is traditionally believed to be the manger in which the Virgin Mother Mary gave birth to Jesus. As it is written in the Gospel of Luke, "And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn." Luke chapter 2, verse 7. The nave. This spacious nave is the original nave built by Justinian in 530 AD. Justinian built the structure which stands today to replace the octagonal church built by Constantine after it was destroyed by a fire during a revolt in 529 AD. The nave includes 44 columns made of pink limestone, which create 5 aisles in the church. Most of these columns existed during the original church built by Constantine in the 4th century. On the floor at the center of the nave, a small patch of the original mosaic floor from the original Constantinian church can be found. The mosaic depicts illustrations of birds, vegetation, and geometric signs. On both sides of the nave, partial mosaics of Jesus and angels dating back to the 12th century can be seen. High altar and iconostasis. The main altar of the church, the high altar, is located at the far eastern end of the church. In front of the high altar from the nave and congregation is the extravagant iconostasis. The iconostasis is a wall of ornamented and gold-crowned icons, which separates the nave and congregation from the holy sanctuary of the high altar. The high altar, the Catholicon where the choir stand, the nave and its aisles all fall under the jurisdiction of the Greek Orthodox denomination. Altar of the Virgin and Altar of the Three Kings. At the left wing of the church, there are 2 Armenian Orthodox altars. The Altar of the Virgin Mary, dedicated to the Mother of Jesus, and the Altar of the Three Kings, dedicated to the Magi, also known as the Three Kings, who followed the star and came from the east bearing gifts for the newborn Son of God. As it is written in the Gospel of Matthew, "Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and have come to worship him." Matthew 21, verses 1 to 2. Altar of the Circumcision. The altar at the far right side of the church is the Greek Orthodox Altar of Circumcision. This altar commemorates the circumcision of Jesus. Like all Jewish newborns, Jesus too was circumcised on the 8th day of his birth, an event celebrated today as New Year's Eve, which follows Christmas by 8 days. As it is written in the Gospel of Luke, "And when 8 days were accomplished for the circumcising of the child, his name was called Jesus, who was so named by the angel before he was conceived in the womb." Luke chapter 2, verse 21. The Grotto of Nativity. The Grotto of Nativity, or Cave of Nativity, is the underground cave which is believed to be the actual birthplace of Jesus Christ. Millions of pilgrims come to catch a glimpse of this holy site. It is upon this cave that the church was built. And although the Gospels do not say that Christ was born in a cave, this cave was recognized as the birthplace of Jesus by Justin Martyr already in 160 AD. Altar of the Birth of Christ. The altar of the birth of Christ was built over the site of the miracle of Nativity, where the Virgin Mary gave birth to Jesus. Scholars believe this may very well be the site of Christ's birth, since the cave part would have been used for stabling and storage as a manger for houses nearby. The exact spot is marked by a 14-pointed star on the marble floor of the altar. It is said to represent the 3 sets of 14 generations which led to the birth of Christ. 14 generations from Abraham to David, 14 from David to the Babylonian Jewish exile, and 14 from the Jewish exile to the birth of Jesus. Around the opening at the center of the star is a Latin inscription which translates, "Here Jesus Christ was born, of the Virgin Mary." Across the Roman Catholic altar of the birth of Christ is the altar of the manger, believed to be the manger where the Virgin Mary laid Jesus after he came into the world. On Christmas Eve, a wooden figure of the baby Jesus is brought from the adjacent church of St. Catherine and is placed in the altar of the manger. Across the altar of the manger is the altar of the Magi, which is dedicated to the 3 wise men who followed the star to Bethlehem, carrying gifts for baby Jesus. A depiction of the Magi in Persian cloths once adorned the church and is said to have saved the church from destruction during the Persian invasion in 614. Jerusalem. The gate and surrounding walls of the old city of Jerusalem were built by the Ottoman Empire during the mid-16th century. Around the gate, many bullet holes can be seen and serve as a reminder of the vicious battles fought in the 1948 war between the Palmach, a pre-Israeli Jewish fighting force, and the Jordanian army. The site of King David's tomb is sacred to Jews, Muslims, and Christians. The tomb and an adjacent synagogue are located on the 1st floor. The Last Supper room is located directly above on the 2nd floor, and a Muslim muezzin tower is located on the 3rd floor. Mount Zion and King David's tomb are particularly important to Jews, since Jews were not permitted to enter the Old City and the Western Wall during the Jordanian occupation of Jerusalem between the years 1948 and 1967. Mount Zion thus became the closest site to the Temple Mount, which was still accessible to Jews. King David's tomb. The tomb of King David is a large sarcophagus or cenotaph covered by a thick red or blue velvet drape. The wall behind it is blackened from the traditional Jewish memorial candles that have been lit by pilgrims over the years. There is a dispute regarding whether or not this is the actual burial site of King David. According to many biblical scholars and archaeological evidence, this is in all probability not the actual. The Last Supper room. The Last Supper room is traditionally regarded by Christians as the cenacle, where Jesus and his disciples ate the traditional Passover meal on the night of his arrest. The room has been identified as the cenacle site already in the 4th century. It is a large empty hall reconstructed by Crusaders in the 12th century. Archaeological evidence dating back to the 2nd century suggests that this may well be the site of the Last Supper. Some believe that the synagogue underneath the room is the site where Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. The third floor of the complex is a roof with a muezzin tower on top. In 1920, the British Mandate in the Holy Land compelled the Muslim family who controlled the site since the mid-16th century to open the site to non-Muslim visitors. To circumvent this decree, the family created a fake tomb of King David, to which they direct place, from his crucifixion and burial through his miraculous resurrection. For Christians all over the world, visiting the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is considered the high point of the pilgrimage to Jerusalem. This area of the church, known as Calvary or Golgotha, is traditionally regarded as the site of Jesus' crucifixion and death. It is a major pilgrimage location and the most lavishly decorated part of the church. It is also the location of 3 of the stations of the Via Dolorosa. At this site, marked as Station 11 of the cross, there is an altar decorated in embossed silver, depicting the suffering of Jesus. Above the altar, there is a mosaic depicting the binding of Jesus to the cross using nails, and the women looking at him. You are at the most important station in the church. This is the spot of the crucifixion and death of Jesus. Marked as Station 12 of the cross, this is the very place where Jesus was nailed to the cross. The rock can be seen under glass on both sides of the altar, and beneath the altar there is a hole said to be the place where the cross was raised. This is the most visited site in the Holy Sepulchre. Here at Station 13 of the cross to your right, you can see an altar commemorating the place to which Jesus' body was lowered from the cross into his mother's arms. This station captures the grief of a mother over her son and is known as the Altar of Our Lady of Sorrows. This is the Chapel of Adam. According to tradition, it was here where Adam's skull was buried, and this site is also where Jesus' crucifixion took place. It is believed that when Jesus took his last breath, the rock of Golgotha split in half, resulting in the crack seen through the window. The significance of the place is rooted in the tradition that this is the rock onto which Jesus' blood dripped. On the floor near the entrance lays the Stone of Anointing, also known as the Stone of Unction, which is considered to be one of the holiest sites in the church. According to tradition, the body of Jesus was laid on this stone after it was removed from the cross. The stone is believed to be the place where Jesus' body was prepared for burial by Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus. Many believers prostrate themselves onto the rock, kiss it, and place personal objects on it so that those can absorb some of the site's holiness. The round hall we are now entering is the heart of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It is called the Rotunda and is considered as the final station of the Via Dolorosa. Looking up, we can see the opening of the dome and the sunlight shining through it, symbolizing the resurrection. The tomb of Jesus is located inside the structure in the middle, which is called the edicule. Behind, through a narrow doorway, is the inner chamber. This is the tomb of Jesus, where according to Christian belief, Jesus was buried and resurrected. Many pilgrims are often seen waiting at the edicule entrance, sometimes for hours, for their turn to enter the tomb for a short prayer. This great hall is the Catholicon. Here is where the large masses are held and where the patriarchs of Jerusalem are chosen. It is considered the center of the universe, and the large chalice-shaped stone on its floor is the omphalos, the navel of the world. Looking above us, we can see the smaller dome of the church. Its mosaic depicts Jesus in the center, and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John at his four corners. You have now reached the Chapel of St. Helena, which is dedicated to Helena, the mother of Emperor Constantine, and according to tradition, who discovered the cross during her visit in 326 AD. This large, well-kept chapel has two apses. To your right is the altar dedicated to St. Helena herself. Looking left, you can see the altar that is dedicated to St. Demas, the good thief. The Armenians have renamed this chapel St. Gregory the Illuminator, in memory of their national patron. At the lowest point of the church, 22 stairs from the Chapel of Helena, is the Chapel of the Finding of the Cross. The marks of the original use of the chapel as a quarry can be seen on some of the exposed rock on the roof and walls. According to tradition, it was here in that chapel, which used to be a cave, where Helena, mother of Emperor Constantine, has found the fragments of the cross. You can see a bronze statue of Helena holding the cross.